A matter of fact. And if ye doubt the tale I tell, steer through the southern Pacific swell, where the branching corals hive unending strife of endless lives, where leagued about the wildered boat the rainbow jellies fill and float, and lilting where the laver lingers, the starfish trips on all her fingers, where neath his myriad spines a shock, the sea egg ripples down the rock, an orange wonder dimly guessed from darkness where the cuttles rest, moored over the darker deeps that hide the blind white sea snake and his bride, who, drowsing, knows the long-lost ships let down through darkness to their lips. The Palms. Once a priest, always a priest. Once a mason, always a mason. But once a journalist, always and forever a journalist. There were 3 of us, all newspaper men, the only passengers on a little tramp steamer that ran where her owners told her to go. She had once been in the Bilbao iron ore business, had been lent to the Spanish government for service at Manila, and was ending her days in Cape Town coolie trade, with occasional trips to Madagascar and even as far as England. We found her going to Southampton in ballast, and shipped in her because the fares were nominal. There was Keller, of an American paper, on his way back to the States from palace executions in Madagascar. There was a burly half-Dutchman called Zuiland, who owned and edited a paper up country near Johannesburg, and there was myself, who had solemnly put away all journalism, vowing to forget that I had ever known the difference between an imprint and a stereo advertisement. 10 minutes after Keller spoke to me, as the Rathmines cleared Cape Town, I had forgotten the aloofness I desired to feign, and was in heated discussion on the immorality of expanding telegrams beyond a certain fixed point, when Zuiland came out of his cabin, and we were all at home instantly, because we are men of the same profession, needing no introduction. We annexed the boat formally, broke open the passenger's bathroom door, on the Manila lines the Dons do not wash, cleaned out the orange peel and cigar ends at the bottom of the bath, hired a lascar to shave us throughout the voyage, and then each asked each other's names. 3 ordinary men would have quarreled through sheer boredom before they reached Southampton. We, by virtue of our craft, were anything but ordinary men. A large percentage of the tales of the world, the 39 that cannot be told to ladies and the 1 that can, are common property, coming of a common stock. We told them all, as a matter of form, with all their local and specific variants, which are surprising. Then came, in the intervals of steady card play, more personal histories of adventure and things seen and suffered, panics among white folk, when the blind terror ran from man to man on the Brooklyn Bridge, and the people crushed each other to death, they knew not why. Fires and faces that opened and shut their mouths horribly at red-hot window frames, wrecks in frost and snow, reported from the sleet-sheathed rescue tug at the risk of frostbites. Long rides after diamond thieves, skirmishes on the veldt and in municipal committees with the Boers, glimpses of lazy, tangled Cape politics, and the mule rule in the Transvaal, card tales, horse tales, woman tales by the score and the half-hundred, till the first mate, who had seen more than us all put together, but lacked the words to clothe his tales with, sat open-mouthed far into the dawn. When the tales were done, we picked up cards till a curious hand or a chance remark made one or other of us say, "That reminds me of a man who," or a business which, and the anecdotes would continue while the Rathmines kicked her way northward through the warm water. In the morning of one specially warm night, we 3 were sitting immediately in front of the wheelhouse, where an old Swedish boatswain, whom we called Fridtjof the Dane, was at the wheel, pretending that he could not hear our stories. Once or twice, Fridtjof spun the spokes curiously, and Keller lifted his head from a long chair to ask, "What is it? Can't you get any steerage on her?" Can you get any steerage way on her? There's a feel to the water, said Frithiof, that I cannot understand. I think we run down hills, or somethings. She steers badly this morning. Nobody seems to know the laws that govern the pulse of the big waters. Sometimes even a landsman can tell that the solid ocean is atilt, and that the ship is working herself up a long unseen slope, and sometimes the captain says, whether neither full steam nor fair wind justifies the length of the day's run, that the ship is sagging downhill. But how these ups and downs come about has not yet been settled authoritatively. No, it is a following sea, said the Frithiof. With a following sea you shall not get good steerage way. The sea was as smooth as a duck pond, except for a regularly oily swell. As I looked over the side to see where it might be following us from, the sun rose in a perfectly clear sky and struck the water with its light so sharply that it seemed as though the sea would clang like a burnished gong. The wake of the screw and the little white streak cut by the long line hanging over the stern were the only marks on the water as far as eye could reach. Keller rolled out of his chair and went aft to get a pineapple from the ripening stalk that was hung inside the after awning. Frithiof, the log line has got tired of swimming. It's coming home, he drawled. What? Said Frithiof, his voice jumping several octaves. Coming home, Keller repeated, leaning over the stern. I ran to his side and saw the log line, which till then had been drawn tense over the stern railing, slacken, loop, and come up off the port quarter. Frithiof called up the speaking tube to the bridge, and the bridge answered, Yes, 9 knots. Then Frithiof spoke again, and the answer was, What do you want of the skipper? And Frithiof bellowed, Call him up! By this time, Zuilian, Keller, and myself had caught something of Frithioff's excitement, for any emotion on shipboard is most contagious. The captain ran out of his cabin, spoke to Frithiof, looked at the log line, jumped on the bridge, and in a minute we felt the steamer swing round as Frithiof turned her. Going back to Cape Town? Said Keller. Frithiof did not answer, but tore away at the wheel. Then he beckoned us 3 to help, and we held the wheel down till the Rathmines answered it, and we found ourselves looking into the white of our own wake, with the still oily sea tearing past our brows, though we were not going more than half steam ahead. The captain stretched out his arm from the bridge and shouted. A minute later I would have given a great deal to have shouted too, for one half of the sea seemed to shoulder itself above the other half, and came on in the shape of a hill. There was neither crest, comb, nor curl over to it, nothing but black water with little waves chasing each other about the flanks. I saw it stream past and on level with the Rathmann's bow plates before the steamer hove up her bulk to rise, and I argued that this would be the last of all earthly voyages for me. Then we lifted for ever and ever and ever, till I heard Keller saying in my ear, The bowels of the deep, good Lord! And the Rathmine stood poised, her screw racing and drumming on the slope of a hollow that stretched downwards for a good half-mile. We went down that hollow, nose under for the most part, and there the air smelt wet and muddy, like that of an emptied aquarium. There was a second hill to climb, I saw that much, but the water came aboard and carried me aft till it jammed me against the wheelhouse door, and before I could catch breath or clear my eyes again, we were rolling to and fro in torn water, with scuppers pouring like eaves in a thunderstorm. There were 3 waves, said Keller, and the strokeholds flooded. The firemen were on deck waiting, apparently to be drowned. The engineer came and dragged them below, and the crew, gasping, began to work the clumsy Board of Trade pump. That showed nothing serious, and when I understood that the Rathmines was really on the water and not beneath it, I asked what had happened. The captain says it was a blow-up under the sea, a volcano, said Keller. It hasn't warmed anything, I said. I was feeling bitterly cold, and the cold was almost unknown in these waters. I went below to change my clothes, and when I came up, everything was wiped out in clinging white fog. Are there going to be any more surprises? Said Keller to the captain. I don't know. Be thankful you're alive, gentlemen. That's a tidal wave thrown up by a volcano. Probably the bottom of the sea has been lifted a few feet somewhere or other. I can't quite understand this cold spell. Our sea thermometer says the surface water is 44 degrees, and it should be 68 at least. It's abominable, said Keller, shivering. But hadn't you better attend to the foghorn? Seems to me that I heard something. Heard? Good heavens, said the captain from the bridge. I should think you did. He pulled the string of our foghorn, which was a weak one. It spluttered and choked because the stokehold was full of water, and the fires were half drowned, and at last gave out a moan. It was answered from the fog by one of the most appalling steam sirens I've ever heard. Keller turned as white as I did, for the fog, the cold fog, was upon us, and any man may be forgiven for fearing death, for fearing a death he cannot see. Give her steam there, said the captain to the engine room. Steam for the whistle, and if we have to go dead, steam for the whistle, if we have to go dead slow. We bellowed again, and the damp dripped off the awnings onto the deck as we listened for the reply. It seemed to be astern this time, but much nearer than before. The Pembroke Castle's on us, said Keller, and then viciously, well, thank God, we shall sink her too. It's a side-wheeled steamer, I whispered. Can't you hear the paddles? This time we whistled and roared till the steam gave out, and the answer nearly deafened us. There was a sound of frantic threshing in the water, apparently about 50 yards away, and something shot past in the whiteness that looked as though it was grey and red. The Pembroke Castle, bottom up, said Keller, who, being a journalist, always sought for explanations. That's the colours of the castle liner. We're in for a big thing. The sea is bewitched, said Frithiof from the wheelhouse. There are 2 steamers. Another siren sounded on our bow, and a little steamer rolled in a wash of something that had passed unseen. We're evidently in the middle of a fleet, said Keller quietly. If one doesn't run us down, the other will. Phew! What in creation is that? I sniffed, for there was a poisonous rank smell in the cold air, a smell that I had smelt before. If I was on land, I would say it was an alligator. It smells like musk, I answered. Not 10,000 alligators could make that smell, said Zuiland. I've smelt them. Bewitched, bewitched, said Frithiof. The sea, she is turned upside down, and we are walking along the bottom. Again the Rathmines rolled in the wash of some unseen ship, and a silver-grey wave broke over the bow, leaving on the deck a sheet of sediment, the grey broth that had its place in the fathomless deeps of the sea. A sprinkling of the wave fell on my face, and it was so cold that it stung as boiling water stings. The dead and most untouched deep water of the sea had been heaved to the top by the submarine volcano, the chill, still water that kills all life and smells of desolation and emptiness. We did not need either the blinding fog or that indescribable smell of musk to make us unhappy. We were shivering with cold and wretchedness where we stood. The hot air on the cold water makes this fog, said the captain. It ought to clear in a little time.